Commander Zelthrus stood at the observation window of his massive warship, the unyielding Dawn. Below him, on the planet's surface, another species was giving up their freedom. The Morphin people had fought for 3 days before they understood the truth. Fighting the Vryn Empire was useless. Now their leaders sat in the meeting room, signing documents that would change their world forever. Zelthrus had watched this scene 47 times before. Always the same pattern. Always the same ending. The Vryn Empire controlled half the galaxy, and they did it through one simple method. They made other species afraid. Fear was easy to understand. Fear was predictable. Show your weapons, threaten their home planet, wait for them to surrender. It worked every single time. The commander was tall, even for a Vryn. His scales were dark blue, marked with silver lines that showed his rank. He had served the Empire for 32 years. In that time, he had learned everything about fear. Some species cried when they were scared. Others became angry and shouted. A few tried to make deals, offering anything to save themselves. But in the end, they all did the same thing. They gave up. Shelta has walked back to his command chair. The bridge was quiet. His crew knew their jobs well. Screens showed information from 1,000 different sensors. The Morphin planet was now part of the Empire. Another mission completed. Another species added to the long list of conquered worlds. He felt nothing special about it. This was just his job. His second officer approached, holding a data tablet. Commander, we have received scout reports from the outer regions. The officer's voice was calm and professional. A new species has been detected. They call themselves humans. They come from a system near the edge of our territory. Zelthrus took the tablet and read through the information. The humans had recently discovered faster-than-light travel. This was common. Young species always made this discovery eventually. It usually brought them into contact with the Empire within a few years. The report showed basic information about their home planet called Earth. 1 sun, 1 moon, mostly water on the surface. Nothing special or unusual. What is their military strength? Zelthrus asked. Lamida, his officer, replied. They have basic weapons. Some nuclear devices. Simple spacecraft. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest ships, Zelthrus nodded. This was also common. New species always had weak technology compared to the Empire. Send the standard intimidation fleet. 12 ships should be enough. Have them make contact and deliver our terms. Yes, Commander. The officer left to carry out the orders. Zelthrus looked back at his tablet, reading more details about the humans. Their planet seemed crowded. Over 7 billion individuals living on one world. Most species spread out more before developing space travel. The humans also seemed to have many different cultures and languages. Again, nothing too unusual. Most young species were divided before the Empire united them, through conquest. He almost deleted the report and moved on to other matters. Then something caught his eye. A note from the scout who had observed Earth from a distance. The note said, "Warning, this species shows unusual historical patterns. Recommend detailed study before contact." Zelthrus frowned. Scouts rarely added personal warnings to reports. He opened the attached files and began reading the human history that the scout had collected. What he found made him pause. The humans fought constantly, not just with other species, but with themselves. Their history was filled with wars. Thousands of wars. They had weapons that could destroy their entire planet, and they had almost used them several times. They had killed millions of their own kind over things like resources, beliefs, and territory. They had survived plagues, famines, disasters that would have ended most species. But the strangest thing was how they recorded it all. Most species tried to forget their violent past. Humans documented everything. They wrote books about their wars. They made films showing their worst moments. They taught their children about all the terrible things they had done to each other. It was like they wanted to remember every horror. Selter has read about something called World War II. Humans had killed over 60 million of their own species in just 6 years. Then he read about nuclear weapons. The humans had actually used them on each other. They had burned entire cities and killed hundreds of thousands in seconds. And after that, they had built more nuclear weapons. Thousands more. Enough to destroy their planet 10 times over. The commander sat back in his chair. This was strange. Most species became peaceful once they reached a certain level of technology. The fear of self-destruction made them careful. But humans seemed to live with that fear every day and just kept going. He was about to call back his officer and add more ships to the fleet when a new message arrived. It was from the scout ship near Earth. They had been detected. The humans knew they were being watched. The commander, as communication officer, called out, "We are receiving a transmission from the human planet. It appears to be directed at our scout ship." "Play it," Zelthrus ordered. The screen showed a human face. Male, with dark skin and gray hair. He wore some kind of uniform with symbols on it. The human looked directly at the camera with calm eyes. No fear, no panic. Just calm. "We know you are watching us," the human said in a clear voice. The translation software worked perfectly. "We have detected your ship. We understand that you are probably from a larger civilization. We have been expecting contact with alien life." The human paused, and something changed in his expression. "We also understand that you may not come in peace. We have studied your pattern of expansion. We know what you do to other species." Zelthrus leaned forward. "How could they know?" "The scout ship was using full stealth technology," the human continued. "If you come to Earth with peaceful intentions, you will find us ready to talk. If you come with threats and weapons, you will find us ready for that too." The human's face became very serious. "We see you. Leave now, or find out why you should have." The transmission ended. The bridge was completely silent. No species had ever responded like this. There was no fear in that human's voice. No begging, no anger. Just a simple warning delivered like a fact. Zelthrus felt something he had not felt in many years. A small, cold feeling at the base of his spine. Something that made his scales tighten. He looked at the report again at all those wars. All that violence humans had done to themselves. They had lived with fear their entire history. They had stared at extinction countless times. And they were still here. Still fighting? Still surviving? For the first time in his career? Commander Zelthrus wondered if 12 ships would be enough. Fleet Commander Rathix was not worried. He had commanded the Intimidation Fleet for 8 years. He had seen 32 species surrender during that time. The humans would be number 33. Young species always talked tough at first. Then they saw the fleet and reality changed their minds quickly. His 12 warships moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human spacecraft. The Vryn shields could stop any primitive weapon. Their plasma cannons could cut through a mountain. Rathix had never lost a ship in combat. He did not expect to lose one now. "We are approaching the human system," his navigation officer reported. "They have detected us. Multiple tracking signals locked onto our fleet." "Let them look," Rathix said. "Send the standard message. Terms of surrender. They have 6 hours to respond." The message was sent. It was the same message sent to every new species. Surrender now, or face destruction. Simple and clear. Rathix sat back and waited. Some species responded immediately. Others used all 6 hours to argue among themselves. It did not matter. The answer was always the same in the end. 2 hours passed. Then the humans sent their reply. A woman appeared on the screen. She had red hair tied back and wore a military uniform covered in badges. Her face was calm. "To calm, we have received your message," the woman said. "We reject your terms. Leave our system immediately, or face the consequences." Rathix felt annoyed. This speech was slightly different from the usual scared responses, but the meaning was the same. They were going to resist. Send a demonstration strike. Target their moon base. Make sure no one is killed, but destroy enough to make the point clear. The moon base was perfect for demonstrations. Big enough to be important, but far enough from Earth that civilian casualties would be 0. 3 of his warships moved toward the moon. Their sensors showed the base clearly, about 200 humans working there. Scientists and engineers mostly. Some basic defense systems that would do nothing against Vryn weapons. Prepare to fire, Rathix ordered. Target the solar panels and communication arrays. Leave the living quarters intact. Weapons ready, Commander? Fire. 3 plasma beams shot toward the moon base. Then everything went wrong. The beams hit something invisible about 50 meters from the base. Some kind of shield, but not like any shield Rathix had seen before. The energy scattered in strange directions. Before he could give another order, the moon itself seemed to explode with light. Multiple weapons firing. His sensor officer shouted, "I count 47 launch points." No, 63. They were hidden under the surface. Metal rods shot from the moon at incredible speed. Railguns, Rathix realized. Simple kinetic weapons, but moving faster than anything that size should move. The first rod hit his lead ship before shields could fully adjust. It punched through the hull like paper. The ship's reactor went critical. 2 seconds later, it exploded. Evasive maneuvers, Rathix ordered. His ship scattered, trying to avoid the weapons that kept firing from the moon. Then missiles appeared. Hundreds of them. Small, fast, and heading straight for the fleet. "Those are nuclear weapons," his weapons officer said with shock in his voice. "Primitive fusion warheads. But Commander, they are not targeting us directly. They are targeting the space around us." Rathix understood too late. The missiles exploded in a pattern, creating overlapping waves of radiation and electromagnetic pulses. The Vryn shields were designed to stop direct hits. They were not designed for this kind of area saturation. Energy bled through. Systems started failing across the fleet. A second ship lost power and began drifting. A third took a direct hit from another railgun round. This time, the rod had some kind of explosive tip. It detonated inside the ship, tearing it apart from within. "Retreat," Rathix ordered. "All ships, full power to engines. Get us out of range." As the fleet turned to run, another transmission came through. The same red-haired woman appeared on screen. This time she was smiling. Not a friendly smile. A smile that showed teeth. "You just attacked a bunch of scientists and engineers," she said calmly. "Want to see what our actual military does?" The screen changed. It showed space behind Rathix's fleet. 12 ships appeared there. Human ships. They had been hiding somehow, invisible to Vryn sensors. They were smaller than the Vryn warships, but moved faster. Much faster. "Impossible," Rathix whispered. "They should not have this technology. They just discovered faster-than-light travel. The ships were real, and they were attacking." Human weapons were different from Vryn weapons. They used missiles that changed direction in flight. They used lasers that pulsed instead of beamed continuously. They used tactics that made no sense. Human ships would fly straight at Vryn vessels, taking damage just to get close enough for a better shot. It was like they did not care about their own safety. One human ship rammed a Vryn cruiser at full speed. Both ships were destroyed, but the explosion took out a second Vryn ship that was too close. No sane species used suicide tactics in the first battle. This was supposed to be just a demonstration. Rathix's fleet jumped too faster than light. Speed as soon as they reached safe distance. 6 ships escaped. 6 ships destroyed or disabled in less than 15 minutes. The worst defeat the Intimidation fleet had ever suffered as they traveled back to Vryn space. Rathix tried to write his report. How could he explain what happened? The humans had been ready for them. More than ready. They had known exactly what kind of attack would come. They had prepared specific defenses. That moon base was not a base at all. It was a trap, but the worst part was not the military defeat. The worst part was that woman's smile. She had enjoyed the battle. There was no fear in her eyes, only cold calculation and something that looked almost like happiness. Like fighting was not something humans were afraid of. Like it was something they were good at. His communication officer approached carefully. "Commander, we have been analyzing the human transmissions. There is something you need to see." New video played. It showed human history. Their wars. Their weapons. Images of cities burning. Millions dead. Humans killing other humans with terrible efficiency. Century after century of violence. The video ended with words in human language, translated, "We have been fighting ourselves for 5,000 years. You are not special." Rathix finally understood the message from the first transmission. Leave now, or find out why you should have. It was not a threat. It was a warning. The humans were not afraid of the Vryn because they had been living with something more dangerous their entire history. Themselves, he finished his report and marked it as urgent. Commander Zelthrus needed to see this immediately. The humans were not like other species. They did not respond to fear the way they should. And that meant everything the Vryn Empire knew about conquest might not work on them, as his damaged fleet limped home. Rathix looked at the casualty reports. Over 2,000 Vryn soldiers dead, in a demonstration attack. Against a species that was supposed to be primitive, he thought about that woman's smile again. And for the first time in his career, Fleet Commander Rathix felt afraid. Commander Zelthrus read Fleet Commander Rathix's report 3 times. Each time he read it, he understood less. 6 ships destroyed. In 15 minutes. By a species that should have been easy to defeat. The tactical data made no sense. Human weapons were simple compared to Vryn technology. But the humans had used them in ways that ignored every rule of normal warfare. He called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. The intelligence division head arrived first. Her name was Zethris, and she had studied alien psychology for 20 years. She looked tired. Zelthrus guessed she had been reviewing human data all night. "Tell me what we are dealing with," Zelthrus said simply. Zethris activated a holographic display. It showed the human home planet Earth. "Commander, humans are predators. This is not unusual. Many species evolved as hunters. But humans are a specific type of predator. They are what we call persistence predators." "Explain," Zelthrus ordered. "Most predators use speed or strength to catch prey quickly," Zethris continued. "Humans evolved differently. They chase their prey for hours or even days. They do not give up. They track, they plan, they wait. Their prey gets tired and makes mistakes. Then the humans kill it. They bring this same behavior to everything they do, including war." The display changed, showing human history. Wars spanning thousands of years. They have been fighting continuously since they developed civilization. Not occasional wars like most species. Constant warfare. They fight over territory, resources, beliefs, and sometimes for no clear reason at all. They have developed military tactics that span their entire history. Zelthrus watched images flash across the display. Humans fighting with primitive swords, then guns, then tanks, then aircraft. Each era showed new weapons, new strategies. They adapt quickly. "Yes," Zethris agreed. "But there is something more important. Something that explains what happened to Rathix's fleet." She highlighted a specific section of data. Humans have almost destroyed themselves at least 12 times in recorded history. Plagues, nuclear weapons, climate disasters. Each time they came close to extinction. And each time they survived. So they are resilient. Many species are resilient. "Oh, Commander, you do not understand." Zethris's voice became intense. "They did not just survive. They thrived. After each near-extinction event, they came back stronger. They learned from their mistakes. They remembered what almost killed them and made sure it would not work again. This is not normal species behavior. Normal species become careful after trauma. Humans become dangerous." Zelthrus felt that cold feeling again. The one he had felt when he first heard the human transmission. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that humans live with existential fear every day. They know their species could end at any moment. They have weapons that could destroy their planet. They have diseases that could kill millions. They have conflicts that could explode into total war. And they just keep going. They work, they build, they explore. Fear is not something that stops them. It is something they live with constantly. The door opened, and more officers entered. The tactical division head, weapons specialists, and fleet commanders. They all looked as disturbed as Zethris. Zelthris realized this meeting was about to get worse. "We need to send a larger fleet," one of the fleet commanders said. 80 ships. Full planetary assault formation. "We destroy their military infrastructure before they can use those tricks again." No, Zethris interrupted. "That will not work. Have you read the tactical analysis? The humans were not trying to win that battle. They were learning, studying our weapons, our tactics, our weaknesses." Commander Rathix walked into a laboratory, not a battle. Zelthris pulled up the battle data. She was right. The human attacks had been too precise. They had targeted specific systems on Virin ships. Shield generators, communication arrays, sensor clusters. It was like they already knew where the weak points were. "How could they know our ship designs?" he asked. "This was first contact." "We believe they have been watching us for longer than we thought," the intelligence officer replied. "They detected our scout ships months ago. They have been studying us while we ignored them. And Commander, there is something else." He activated a new display. "Earth went dark 6 hours ago. All communications stopped. All satellites shut down. We cannot see what they are doing on the surface." The cold feeling got worse. "They are preparing." "Yes, and we have no idea what they are preparing." Zelthris made his decision. "I will take personal command of the Second Fleet. 80 ships as suggested, but we will not attack immediately. We will observe first. Learn what we can." He looked at each officer. "No one wins a war in the first battle. Clearly, the humans understand this. We need to understand it too." The fleet assembled over the next 3 days. 80 warships, the largest force Zelthris had ever commanded. Enough firepower to turn Earth's surface into glass. Surely the humans would see this and reconsider. Surely this much power would make them afraid. The fleet arrived at Earth system in battle formation. Immediately, Zelthris knew something was wrong. Earth was still dark. No communications. No visible spacecraft. It was like the entire planet had shut down. "Scan for military installations," he ordered. "Find their ships." "Commander," the sensor officer said slowly, "I am not detecting anything. No ships in orbit. No active weapons platforms. Nothing." That was impossible. Where were the ships that had attacked Rathix? Where were the defenses? Then his communication system activated. Every screen on every ship in the fleet lit up at once. Not with a transmission, with data. Massive amounts of data flooding through every channel. "What is this?" Zelthris demanded. "It is human history, Commander," the communication officer replied. "Their wars, their weapons, their tactics, everything they have ever done to each other." Like, she looked scared. "Why would they send us this?" Zelthris understood immediately. It was not information. It was a warning. The humans were showing the Vrin exactly what they were capable of. He watched footage of human wars. Trenches filled with dead bodies, cities reduced to rubble, nuclear explosions that vaporized everything, chemical weapons that melted flesh, biological weapons that killed millions. Humans had done all of this to other humans. One message repeated across all frequencies in perfect Vrin language. "We have done this to ourselves for thousands of years. Imagine what we will do to you, Commander." The security officer shouted. "We have intruders. Multiple decks. Hundreds of them. How did they get on board?" Chaos erupted across the fleet. Human soldiers were appearing inside Vrin ships, not beaming in or teleporting. They had been hiding there. For 3 days, humans had been aboard the fleet, concealed somehow, waiting. Explosions bloomed across the formation. Not from outside attacks, from sabotage. The humans were destroying the ships from within. Life support systems failed. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. The fleet that was supposed to terrify Earth was tearing itself apart. Zelthris realized with horrible clarity what had happened. The humans had infiltrated during assembly. They had probably been hiding in cargo, in maintenance tunnels. Maybe even disguised as Vrin, and for 3 days. They had studied every system, planted every explosive. Prepared for this exact moment, how many ships are affected? He demanded. All of them, Commander. All 80 ships have intruders. Zelthrus looked at the data still flooding his screens. Images of humans fighting in every condition. In space, underground, in water, in fire. They adapted to everything. They survived everything. And they remembered everything. He finally understood why the humans were not afraid. They had spent thousands of years surviving the most dangerous predator in the galaxy, themselves. The Vrin Empire was just another threat. And humans knew how to deal with threats. The Vrin High Council chamber was built to inspire fear. Massive stone pillars reached toward a ceiling lost in shadow. The walls displayed the symbols of every conquered species. 47 civilizations reduced to decorations. High Executor Varnick sat at the center of a semicircular table, flanked by the 12 council members who ruled the empire. Today, for the first time in 300 years, the council felt afraid. 3 fleets, Varnick said quietly. We sent 3 fleets to one primitive planet. The first was destroyed. The second was scattered across 3 star systems. The third is being hunted. He looked at Commander Zelthrus, who stood before the council with his uniform torn and scales darkened by burns. Explain how this happened. Zelthrus had barely escaped Earth with 15 ships. The rest were either destroyed or captured by humans. He had spent the last week trying to understand what went wrong. The answer was simple and terrible. The humans do not fight like other species, he began. Every species we have conquered responds to threats with fear. Fear makes them predictable. They either submit or fight back in expected ways. Humans are different. They have lived with existential threats their entire history. Threats from us barely register compared to what they do to themselves. That makes no sense, Councilmember Draxus interrupted. Fear is fear. All living things avoid danger, Zelthrus said firmly. Humans do not avoid danger. They plan for it. They prepare for it. They have built their entire civilization while knowing they could destroy themselves at any moment. Every human grows up understanding that their species has the power to end their world. They live with this knowledge every day. Activated a holographic display. It showed Earth, peaceful and blue. This planet should not exist. By every probability model we have, humans should have gone extinct at least 5 times. Nuclear war, environmental collapse, pandemic diseases. Each time they came within days or hours of total extinction. Each time they survived, luck, another council member suggested. Not luck, adaptation. Zelthrus changed the display to show human military tactics through history. Watch how they fight. In their ancient wars, armies lined up and fought face to face. Then they developed guns and changed tactics. Then aircraft, and they changed again. Then nuclear weapons, and they changed everything. Every time technology advances, humans redesign their entire approach to warfare within years. He showed the battle footage from his fleet. They studied us. For months, they observed our scouts. They analyzed our weaknesses. When we attacked, they were not defending. They were testing their theories. Every battle gave them more data. Every encounter made them more dangerous. Varnix leaned forward. What are they doing now? Zelthrus felt his scales tighten. This was the worst part. They are inside our territory. Human ships have been detected near 12 of our colonies. Not attacking. Just watching. Following our vessels. Studying our trade routes. They are doing to us what we tried to do to them. The council chamber went silent. Then Council Member Yethrus spoke, her voice shaking slightly. Reports from the colonies mentioned psychological issues among the crews. Anxiety, paranoia, inability to sleep. Some ships have requested to return home early because the crew cannot handle the stress. The stress of what? Varnix demanded. The humans are not attacking. That is exactly the problem, Zelthrus said. They are not attacking. They are just there, always watching, always following. Our crews know the humans are out there, but they do not know when or if an attack will come. It is psychological warfare, and it is working. He pulled up more reports. Vrin colonies reporting strange malfunctions. Communications going down for hours, then returning to normal. Sensors detecting ships that vanish before weapons can lock on. Supply convoys finding their routes known by human vessels that appear and disappear. They are teaching us fear, Zelthris continued. Real fear. Not the quick fear of immediate danger. The slow fear of being hunted by something smarter than you. Something that understands fear better than we ever did. Council member Draxus slammed his hand on the table. We are the Vrin Empire. We have ruled this sector for 3,000 years. We will send the full battle fleet. We will turn their planet to dust. That will not work, Zelthris said quietly. Do you know why? Because humans expect it. They have probably planned for it. They might even want us to try. He changed the display again, showing human history. Look at their largest war. World War II. They fought for 6 years. 60 million dead. Entire cities destroyed. And at the end, the nations that were nearly defeated became the most powerful on their planet. Because losing made them learn, made them adapt, made them stronger. What are you saying? Varnix asked. That we cannot defeat them. I am saying we already lost. We just do not know it yet. Zelthris gestured at the display. Humans have spent 5,000 years mastering warfare. Not just the weapons, but the psychology of it. They understand fear as both a weapon and a tool. They know how to use it and how to resist it. When we threatened them, we were using tactics they invented thousands of years ago. Another council member spoke up. There must be a weakness. Every species has a weakness. Yes, Zelthris agreed. Humans have many weaknesses. They need food, water, air. They are fragile physically. They cannot survive in space without protection. But their greatest weakness is also their greatest strength. He showed images of human cities, families, children. They care about each other, deeply. They will sacrifice themselves to protect others. They will fight impossible odds to save one person. This caring makes them vulnerable. Then we use that, Varnix said. We threaten their families, their children. No. Zelthris's voice was hard. Because when you threaten what humans love, they do not surrender. They become something worse. I have read their history. I have seen what they do to enemies who target civilians. There is a human phrase, scorched earth. It means they will destroy everything, including themselves, before they let an enemy win. If we threaten their children, we will not face a species trying to survive. We will face a species with nothing left to lose. The council sat in silence. Finally, Varnix spoke. What do you recommend? Negotiation, Zelthris said. Not from a position of strength, from a position of mutual interest. The humans do not want to conquer us. They have made that clear. They want to be left alone. If we offer peace, real peace, they might accept. Peace? Draxus laughed bitterly. We are the Vrin Empire. We do not offer peace. We accept surrender. Then the Empire will fall, Zelthris said bluntly. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But humans are patient. They will study us. Learn everything about us. Find every weakness. And one day, when we are not ready, they will strike. Not to conquer, but to eliminate a threat. And we will lose. Varnix stood slowly. The High Executor looked older than his years. Send a message to the humans. Tell them we wish to negotiate. No, Zelthris interrupted. They have already sent us a message. 3 days ago. We received it on all frequencies. It has been repeating constantly. He played the message. A woman appeared, the same red-haired woman from the first battle. She looked tired, but calm. To the Vin Empire. We do not want war. We want peace. But we will define what peace means. Contact us when you are ready to talk. Until then, stay out of our space, and we will stay out of yours. Mostly. The word mostly hung in the air like a threat. The neutral station floated in empty space, exactly halfway between Vryn and human territory. It was a small facility built specifically for this meeting. No weapons. No military presence. Just meeting rooms and the representatives of two civilizations. Trying to avoid a war, Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the station corridor with no guards. She carried only a simple data tablet. Her clothes were formal but plain. A dark blue suit with a small patch showing Earth on her shoulder. She looked like she was going to a business meeting, not a negotiation that would decide the fate of billions. High Executor Fornix waited in the conference room with 12 guards surrounding him. He wore his full ceremonial armor, covered in symbols of conquest. When Ambassador Chen entered alone, Varnix felt a brief moment of confusion. Where was her security? Where were her advisors? Then he remembered, humans did not think like Vryn. Chen sat down across from him without asking permission. She placed her tablet on the table and looked directly at Varnix. Her eyes were calm. No fear, no anger, just patient attention. "Thank you for meeting with me," she said simply. Varnix felt his scales tighten. The human was being polite, but something in her tone made it clear this was not a request. "Your species has attacked our ships. Infiltrated our territory? Threatened our colonies. You call this a path to peace?" "No," Chen replied. "I call it making a point. Your empire needed to understand something important before we could talk seriously. You needed to understand that threatening us would not work. You think yourselves superior?" Varnix's voice carried an edge. "You have won a few battles against small fleets. The Empire has resources you cannot imagine." Chen smiled slightly. Not a happy smile. More like someone explaining something to a child. "High Executor, let me be very clear. We are not trying to prove we are superior. We are trying to prove we are too much trouble to conquer. There is a difference." She activated her tablet. The display showed Vryn colony worlds, military bases, trade routes, everything marked in perfect detail. "We have been inside your empire for 4 months now. We know your military strength. We know your economic systems. We know which colonies are profitable and which are barely holding on. We know where your food comes from and which trade routes are critical. We know everything." Varnix felt cold. "That is impossible. Our security would have detected you. Your security is designed to stop invasions and attacks. It is not designed to stop people who just want to watch and learn." Chen pulled up more data. "Did you know that 70% of your colonies are unhappy? That 12 species in your empire are planning rebellions? That your economy depends on 3 specific trade routes that could be disrupted easily?" "How dare you? I am not threatening," Chen interrupted gently. "I am explaining why we do not want to conquer you. Your empire is fragile, High Executor, held together by fear and force. If we attacked, we might win. But then we would have to manage 47 angry species and an economy we do not understand. That sounds like a nightmare, not a victory." Varnix was silent. Everything the human said was true. The Empire was strong militarily, but weak internally. He had known this for years, but hearing it from an outsider made it real. "What do you want?" he asked finally. Chen said simply, "Real peace. Not the kind you force on conquered species. The kind where both sides benefit from not fighting. The Empire does not need peace. We need order. No." Chen's voice became firm. "You need peace. Because the alternative is not war. It is worse than war." She pulled up new images. "We have been studying your species' psychology. Vryn are predators, but you are ambush predators. You are good at overwhelming force and quick victories. You are terrible at long conflicts. Your species gets anxious and stressed when threats continue without resolution." She showed reports from Vryn colonies. "Your people are already showing signs of stress, just from knowing we are watching. Imagine if this continued for years, decades. Imagine never knowing when or where we might strike. Imagine teaching your children to fear shadows because humans might be hiding there. That is not war. That is slow psychological destruction. Varnix wanted to argue, but the data was clear. His people were afraid in a way they had never been afraid before. Not of immediate danger, but of an enemy they could not predict or understand. "Why tell me this?" he asked. "Why not just do it?" "Because we do not want to," Chen said quietly. "Humans have fought enough wars, High Executor. We have killed enough people. We are good at war. Yes, very good. But being good at something does not mean you want to do it." She leaned forward. "We have seen what endless conflict does. We have lived it. We do not want to bring that to the galaxy." "Then what do you propose?" Chen laid out her tablet showing a document. A treaty. Not a surrender. A real agreement between equals. First, you leave human space alone. Completely. No scouts, no spies, no accidental border crossings. Second, we establish trade relations. We have resources you need. You have knowledge we want. We trade fairly. And third, Varnix could tell there was more. Third, you change how you expand your empire. No more conquest. If you want new species to join, you convince them with benefits, not threats. You offer partnership, not slavery. Varnix laughed bitterly. "You expect us to change everything we are?" "The empire was built on strength," No Chen corrected. "It was built on fear. And fear only works until you meet something more frightening." She gestured at the data on her tablet. "We are not asking you to become weak. We are asking you to become different. Strong in a new way. Humans learned this lesson thousands of years ago. Empires built on fear always fall. Empires built on mutual benefit can last forever." "And if we refuse?" Varnix asked. "What then? You destroy us?" "No," Chen said softly. "We do worse. We do nothing. Go home. We close our borders, and we wait." She looked directly into his eyes. "Humans are very patient, High Executor. We can wait generations if needed. Your empire will continue as it is. Fragile, unstable, fighting rebellions and managing unhappy colonies, and we will just watch. Maybe in 50 years, maybe in 100, your empire will collapse on its own, and then we will deal with whoever comes next." Varnix understood the trap. The humans did not need to fight. They had already won by making the Vryn afraid. By showing the empire its own weaknesses, by proving that conquest had limits. "You have thought this through carefully," he said. "We had to," Chen replied. "Because this is not just about us and you. This is about setting a precedent. If we let you conquer us, you will try to conquer others. If we destroy you, others will fear us and attack preemptively. But if we make peace, real peace, we show the galaxy there is another way." She stood up and offered her hand, a human gesture. "Your empire has ruled through fear for 3,000 years. It is time to try something different. Not because you are weak, but because you are smart enough to see the future. The galaxy is changing, High Executor. Change with it, or be left behind." Varnix looked at the offered hand for a long moment. Then he stood and took it. The gesture felt strange. Vryn did not touch in greeting. But somehow it felt right. "The council will need to approve," he said. "I know," Chen said. "Take your time. We are patient." That word again, patient. A reminder of what humans were good at. The treaty was signed 2 weeks later. The Vryn Empire agreed to all terms. Not because they wanted to, but because the alternative was living in fear of an enemy that understood fear better than they did. Commander. Zelthrus watched the signing ceremony from his ship. He felt strange about it. Relief, mostly, but also something like respect. The humans had done what no species had ever done. They had defeated the Empire without destroying it. They had won by showing mercy was not weakness, but a different kind of strength. On Earth, in a small apartment, the red-haired woman from the battle video sat watching the same ceremony. Admiral Morrison was her name. She had planned the entire strategy. As the signatures appeared on the document, she allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had faced its test and passed, not by being the strongest, not by being the cruelest, but by being smart enough to win without endless war. By being wise enough to know when to fight and when to make peace, the galaxy had changed. Fear was still powerful, but the humans had shown something more powerful: the ability to make enemies realize that peace was better than war. Not through weakness, but through demonstrated strength combined with restraint.